Join me as I talk with people who express their creativity in ways that can inspire the rest of us to recognize our own creativity. Wow, what happens when you care so deeply about your creative expression and wanting to share that with other people? That's what my guest today is going to be talking about. Hi, and welcome to Creativity Conversations. This morning, I get to talk to Alex Chang. So glad to have you here.
Thanks for having me.
Oh,
Really
my pleasure.
great.
So, boy, there's so much to say about what you do and so many questions to ask you. What I'm going to do is just say that you are a harpist, you are electric acoustic harpist and composer. And then rather than having me pick and choose from your bio, which is amazing, if you would just tell us what you would like us to know about who you are and what you do.
Sure, thank you. Yes, definitely a musician and composer. Definitely where my heart is. But through that, I really love to explore other people's creativity, actually, and present it as well. Because so many people are amazing, and I just want to kind of enhance their ability and amplify like what they're saying that is really important. So a lot of what I do is about presenting other people. So I work as the co-director with Adam Foreman up here at the Capital Region for Improv Spaces. And we've been a nonprofit for 3 years now, 3 years and counting, 3.5 years.
Great.
It's really exciting. And what we've been able to do is bring resources and different musicians and collaborators together to work on projects and really kind of rethink the model of new music, experimental music, improv in terms of supporting artists because it's really difficult for artists, of course, artists across the range to be supported. But I think in particular, musicians and experimental new music improvisers are even more difficult in terms of finding resources and support. And so we really want to provide that, whether it be space or thinking about monies, which is definitely very important. And also collaborators, like being able to reach out and find new people to work with is really important.
Mm.
So we have an annual festival, which will this year will be in the fall. It had been in May, June before, but we're really excited because the Troy Savings Bank Music Hall is presenting with us.
Mm.
And they have just renovated their space. I mean, it already was a gorgeous and amazingly resonant space. But then now they have the second tier of their space that's completely renovated. It's gorgeous. And now there's two stages and there's spaces for people to kind of hang out, do workshops and talk to each other. So with the Capital Region Music Hub. So we're excited to collaborate with them. And then MPAC is also having their Topos Fest leading up to this festival. And we're going to be presenting a bit there too, kind of as a preview. So we're collaborating with Troy, Capital Region improvisers, and it'll be this whole weekend of great music
So,
and creativity.
sorry to interrupt you, but
Yeah.
I have so many questions. First of
Sure.
all, because you've mentioned that
Mhm.
wonderful weekend coming up, what's the best way to either get on your mailing list or know about it?
Oh, thank you. So there's the Improv Spaces website, which is improvspaces.org.
Okay.
And also there's the Improv Spaces Instagram, which also we like to give out little previews of things that are happening. So that's just Instagram's at Improv Spaces is really simple. But either of those, it'd be great in order to get like what's going on.
Yeah.
And also, I was just thinking in terms of like what's going on and things that we do. We have been bringing together a lot of musicians, particularly to collaborate on an ensemble. And this will be like the second time that they'll be performing together an original score at the festival. So I hope people will come and support the artists that are in the region as well.
I'm sure you'll get quite a crowd. Something that I saw, I think it was in it was either in your bio or on the Improv Spaces, was something you said about the importance of freedom and safety to take chances. Can you say more about that?
Definitely. That's something that I think Adam Foreman also talks about a lot. And it's really like improv spaces allows a space in which we're hoping people experiment and, they can bring their new compositions, try something completely new, think about ensemble shapes that they've never thought about, different instrumentation. And, we have workshops and we bring people that are working on like modular synth and actually in the festival, we have Matt Riles, who had come to perform before with us. He's just an amazing modular synth player, but also a composer and artist. He's many things, but he also teaches, and it's exciting because he can teach people that have never done it before, and that's something that's really important, I think, in terms of experimentation, is like trying something, not being afraid. And I think improvisation is very much about that, and also just creativity in general, because I know this theme of the show, and really artists like are taking risks every time they're making their artwork. And I find that artists are very brave because of that. And in terms of improvisation, every note is unknown. It's the unknown. And so every note is sort of an experiment.
So, two quick questions. One is, I don't know what a modulist is.
Oh,
Then I have another question.
yeah, no, totally. Sorry. Yes. So modular synth is kind of like
Synth. Got
a
it.
synth, yeah, synthesizer. So it's making these electronic noises through these little modular pieces that can be like connected, with wires and cables in many different ways, knobs and different types of things that can change the levels and the sounds. And
Uh-huh.
so the sounds that they produce, and depending how you link them, they make different noises and sounds. And so he plays this, and it's amazing. And he's just, I mean, he has a lot of experimentation. So a lot of it is like, what is going to come out? It's like testing all of this. But then, of course, like he knows other things that are going to come out. So it's like a mix of both. And I think improvisation is really a lot of that too, because like you practice and you practice. So you have this baseline, but then in the moment, you don't know what's going to happen.
And isn't that the beauty of it? Because I know for me, when I'm creating something, painting or collaging or a combination of that, is I don't really want to know in advance because I don't want to, I want something other than my own hand to show up. And one of my favorite quotes that a friend of mine shared with me a long time ago is, what else is possible? And if I'm asking that question with an open mind, then it's like a channel. And I'm sure it must be similar for you. It's just something comes through, you just like open the door, and who knows who'll come in.
Exactly. Now, this is interesting because there's a performance artist who's also a shaman based in Saigon, who was here last week with the Global Performance and Sound Lab performing. And, we talk about this about like what it feels like to channel, because for him, it's very much about channeling, right? And I was trying to talk to him about improvisation and what it feels like when I'm playing, because sometimes I know you're not supposed to do this, and my harp teacher will be like, "You're not supposed to do this," but like I don't look at my hands sometimes when I'm playing, because like it just is just happening, right? Because like, and that's another thing. I mean, I understand the theories of how to improvise, like how people say you're supposed to improvise, but then there's that other level that you hit that, it just comes out. And I think it also has to do with who you're with, everything around you,
Hmm.
what you have experienced before, and then, it just comes out. But there is that kind of like, I tell my students a lot, like, because I teach improvisation, and body practice and jazz. And so for them to understand what these artists are doing, even if they've never played an instrument, I have them jam. Like I bring like a bunch of harps. We have this piano in the room. There's like drawing, movement. I'm like, whatever you want to do, vocalization, anything. But we're going to think about improvisation together and actually do it, because if you don't do it, like you really won't understand what it is.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
once was at a concert and I was sitting next to another artist. And during the performance, at first I thought she was taking notes, but she actually had a little pad where she was just doodling and sketching and letting her body express on the paper with her little markers and stuff what was in being coming into her from the music. And it was wonderful. I've never done that before. That's really interesting because you get that to feel, and it sounds like this is something that you do, is that you allow people to experience incoming impressions from a variety of different angles.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, that's something so beautiful, I think, about improvising, and also like interdisciplinary improvisation. And also working with people, musicians that are really interested in improvisation and may not have done it before. It might be like a classical background. And because I do have classical background, and there's this kind of freeing that you have,
Mhm.
because like when you're trained, like, because I was trained in piano first. And it's very much about like this idea of perfectionism, which you never attain,
Right.
right? So it's like impossible. And then you go and you try to attain it. And there's that pressure of even the way you look, like what you're wearing, everything.
Mhm.
And, if you step away from that, for me, it became, instead of something that is just like kind of stressful, stress inducing, it
Yeah.
became the opposite. So now I'll have like the hardest week ever doing, writing grants or whatever. But if I know that I'm going to like have a gig or play with the ensemble at the end of the week, then I know I'm going to be fine, because when I'm playing with everyone, it's just like, I'm like, this is my favorite place, you know?
Mm.
So it evens everything out.
Oh, I get it. So, how would you say that being an artist has shaped you as a person? How you see the world, where you see your possibilities or limitations?
Mhm.
Although I would emphasize the possibilities, but up to you.
Yeah. No, I think like being an artist is really, really important in terms of what I do. I mean, one thing, I know like I had just come off of doing a large convening called the Global Performance and Sound Lab. And everyone there purposefully is an artist practitioner and and something else, because I think like a lot of times we think like we have to be this one thing and not the other. And for my students, it's really difficult to be in academia, in which perhaps practice is seen within like humanities as something that is on the side, or not the focus, even if it has everything to do with the focus that you're studying, and yet your knowledge comes from your practice. And so I really want to say, like, your practice is this knowledge that is very much worthwhile. And there's elements in there that, um, textbook readings can't actually even touch, right? So that having both are really important. And for me, like, I think, being an administrator that is a practitioner is important, because I know like the things that I have to go through as a practitioner, and what I need,
Mhm.
whether it be like a little more freedom or, less hand holding and hovering, or, things that I wouldn't have thought about if I hadn't actually done the practice. But then also as a person, I think I'd like to think, because I really believe improvisation, and playing or doing things with other people is really important, in order to cross divides and have empathy. So with improvisation, a lot of it is about listening to people
Mhm.
and, actually really hearing them, and then knowing when you might want to come in, or maybe you give more room, you come together, you make agreements. So I think it's a great tool in which like we can think about what empathy is, what our relationship with other people are, and also beyond. You know, in terms of like a lot of the work I do also reflects on current issues that are happening.
Mm-hmm.
So it might have ramifications beyond. So, with the trio, Rock City Falls trio that I play with Adam Foreman, percussionist, but also Jason Handren, who's on bass, we collaborate a lot with different artists of different types. And we think about, what is on our minds, but also around us. We've been able to grow that with the Troy Savings Bank Music Hall artist residency last year. They allowed us to, really meet with the community. And we were talking about, the past of Troy and what people wanted to see in the future. So then, the listening came in and it became part of the whole piece. But then also we were thinking about like, what can we do? What do we want to see? And we work a lot with climate change also in terms of like thinking about anxieties and what we want to see together as well.
That's really amazing. It keeps surprising me, and I see the value of it is how you're taking the creative process and collaboration to explore really relevant themes, connection, thinking about the future, listening. I think this is what I would like to think that this is what most artists aspire to. It's not just that they're creating something, but it has a meaning and it has a depth and it has a purpose. And it sounds like that's I don't want to be putting words in your mouth, but that's what's driving you. That was going to ask you what motivates you, but you've just said it and it's really beautiful.
I think like a couple of things motivate me. One is definitely like, why do we want to do this in the first place? If we're
Mm.
getting together, we're composing something, and we're going to be, um, collaborating with audiences in terms of like, we're going to be playing for audiences, we're going to be connecting with them. Like, how do we want to connect with them? And like, why do they care what we're playing about? And like, we're all existing now. So what do we care about? So I think that's a huge thing with the Rock City Falls trio is like thinking about that. And like we take our time like working with the artists that we work with and we think through. Actually, tonight we're going to have for our next project called Currents, we're working with Carlin Ma, who is a video artist, a photographer, and she was in Hawaii, like filming volcanoes for us, like and of course for her other practice too. But like, so we're really thinking about climate change together and this earth that we're living on. But we're going to be talking just about that, tonight with the group and thinking about things as we grow that project. But so that definitely is something. But then also there's this other element that kind of goes through the channeling thing, in which like I can't help it. It just happens. So like, and I think like my father passed away a couple of years ago. And I used to write a lot. Like I was probably mostly known for my arts writing. And so I wrote a ton every year. But then suddenly I couldn't really write anymore. And all I could do was play music, which sounds so strange. Suddenly, like I was just composing left and right. I have like so much music that I have to transcribe. But like it just happens. So like every day it just comes out, and it's not like, oh, I'm gonna compose something.
You
you
couldn't
know,
help it.
it just is there.
Yeah.
I think,
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, that's a, a lovely thing to share because I'm very much aware of how what wants to come through us may not want to come through in what we think the form is going to be. And I was going to ask you, so it was a perfect comment that you just made of how being an artist has helped you through periods of transition or insert uncertainty.
definitely. Well, it definitely helped me through my dad's passing. I think I wrote like 12 different things that evening. It was just
Mm.
like poured out. But then also, I think I did have quite a transition during COVID, and I think a lot of people did when they rethink their life. And you rethink like my relationships to people, what I'm prioritizing. But then also I fell in love with the harp at that point. So I used to play the piano. And then I heard the harp coming through like streaming on Facebook at night because there was this harpist who played, I think, on the West Coast for healing for like hospitals. And so they decided to stream it because like she couldn't be in the hospital and then other people could listen to. And I was like, what is this sound? I really want to make this sound. And so I bought a harp and we were moving our house as well. There was just a lot going on, you know. And then it arrived at my new house. And the first time I played it, I just was like, you know, when you see like a light at the tunnel, I was like, I get it. Okay. And then it was interesting because I was talking to some music professors at Skidmore just about pentatonic scales and the harp. And then they were saying that there's this amazing professor there, Elizabeth Huntley, is fantastic. And so she actually took me on, and the first time I ever plucked the grand, like the concert grand, the sound, the resonance, I think I made the funniest face and was just like, oh my God. And I was completely, that was it, you know,
And how long
love.
ago was that?
That wasn't that long ago. So, oh gosh, I want to say it was 2022
Wow.
that happened. Yeah. So, and then I played, you know, 16 hours a day. Once I played 14 hours and hurt my hand, and my teacher was like, never do that again. It's like I just fell so hard in love with the harp. And then
Wow.
also, you know, I had to play it all the time. So I got this little harp, which I play a lot, the electric harp, and it was electric. And I was like, I wonder if I could plug it into like guitar pedals. So I started playing that and realized like I really love to improvise with it. And I had been playing
Mm.
like harp for a church and they let me improvise like even there. But then I just immediately started playing out and collaborating with people.
That's amazing. So, if someone, especially somebody who's very left brain, has this impulse to be creative, but they've been told since they were 5 that they don't have a creative bone in their body. Well, unfortunately, it's so true with so many people. But what would you say to that person? How would you encourage them?
Mhm. Well, I mean, people find their way to like what they love. So like it's hard to say like play the harp, you know. But at the same time, it's like find something that helps make you, you know, feel like you can express yourself, whatever it may be. It might be your voice, it might be drawing, it might be writing, it could be anything. Like I know like some archivists, like I find very odd, but I've worked with a lot of archivists. They love to organize things for people very creatively,
Yeah.
you know, the way they think through. I'm like, find your creative path, whatever it is. And it might seem strange to other people, but
Who cares?
yeah, like it's important because I think, at least for me, having it is a mental health issue. You know, if I didn't have it, I don't know how I'd be right now, you know. It's very much like a balancing thing. And it's also, if it's something you love, you know, it's what makes living worth it. You know, I've been talking I remember I was kind of like in this group of people that were talking about like why a certain like art space was so important to them. And, you know, they were near tears and they were just saying like if they didn't have that, they didn't know how they would go on living, you know? And it's
Yes.
amazing. Yeah.
Well, I think that's it because I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, even though you've already shared them along this line, is that creativity is not a luxury. It's it the more you do it, the more you realize how essential it is.
It's so true. I mean, I think also in terms of definitely in terms of healing,
Mhm.
definitely also in terms of like, I think there's actually university hospitals that are, you know, giving performance tickets to people as like a method of healing.
Yes.
So actually going to performance, and I think live performance is amazing because you're surrounded by people and you are sharing an experience like and through affect, which we always kind of put as like secondary, like, oh, feelings, like, oh, always seen as second, like, oh, you have emotions, you're emotional, or in academia also it's just not taken into account. It's
Right. But
like,
that's the point, right? You want to have people feel something important and strong and meaningful.
right. And having that kind of shared experience is really important too. I think, we just saw the Knicks win in New York, that
Finally.
shared experience, I mean, of elation, but then also, I mean, I think those moments are really important for us to like understand other people and also to understand
Mm,
where we're seated at. I just, a really good friend, actually collaborator with the Rock City Falls Trio, just passed away last week.
mm,
And like for me, I was kind of like struggling with like thinking about it. It seemed really surreal. And then I wrote something like social media, but like then I saw other people write, and I just felt like it was a shared missing of him.
mm.
And having that connection and a collective like sharing and exchange is important for getting through or just experiencing things in life that you're going through. That's why I think like Roxy Feld's trio and our projects that when we do work with the community is really important because, a lot of us are really like, there's so much going on all the time. And then there's many layers that are just kind of like humming along like climate change, in which is like every day there, this like anxiety that's like pushing, but like we don't
Mhm.
get to really talk about it. Like you don't go to your friend and be like, hey, this climate change thing. Maybe you do sometimes, but like not all the time.
Yeah.
And like I think up here there isn't that much of it opportunity to do that.
Yeah.
As maybe if there's like a climate week or something that's happening. So like we want to be able to provide those opportunities to talk about our local issues
Mm,
together,
mhm.
and understanding like it, of course it's a global phenomenon, and like feeling that, but then also what does it mean to us living together.
Yeah. Gosh, that's just so important. So, based on what you just said, how does it make you feel when you are performing something with others and in community and people are very strongly moved? How does that make you feel?
It definitely moves me as well. I mean, it just makes me feel like, okay, like what we're doing is worth it.
Mm,
Like, I know, I mean, I love to play and I would play no matter what, but like, why are we getting together and like, I mean, putting on a performance isn't like the easiest thing. You have to raise money for it. You have to practice a lot. You have to compose together. You have to like, get the word out. There's all this administrative extra stuff.
yeah,
And
yeah.
like, also like, so why do you want to even do that? Why do you even want to create like a happening? Why is it important to you? And if somebody comes back and says, what you were trying to do was important to me, it just makes it worthwhile. Like I kind of laugh because like I'm also an art curator. And it's similar when we're doing these like performances and fests. It's like it's so much work. It's like,
Right.
and right before it, it's just like at that moment, you're like, I'm never doing this again. It's just so
Right.
much work. And then afterwards, when everything happens and you feel everything and everyone talks and you're like, what's the next project?
Right.
Like, what's going next? You forget about it.
Right.
Yeah.
What I'm hearing in what you're saying is how all of the work that you do, which is amazing, really the extent of what you're doing and throwing yourself into, whether it's sometimes fully or sometimes not so fully, is that it's continues to evolve your own intuition and your own sense of what's next, what else is possible, even if it's not an intellectual, analytical, okay, this is going to happen, and then this, it's just sort of, as we were talking about, it comes to you. You're drawing it to yourself.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's like different levels of it in which like there's like my personal kind of composing and kind of like solo harp, but then also small ensemble stuff. And like I think, um, for my personal stuff, I combat different types of issues because like I think about being Asian American and what does that even mean? Like, first of all, I'm like, what does that mean? What does it mean to me, other people? But then also, what does it mean to my practice, if anything? And so I've been working through that a lot in terms
Mm,
of my personal practice and solo work a lot. And so my next album is going to be kind of like from that. But I think a lot of my work has to do with hybridity and kind of genre mixing. So Rock City Falls Trio, for example, and my own personal playing is very much, well, it's more experimental with Rock City Falls Trio, but we work with like new music, jazz, improvisation, um, different types of influences of those, as well as indie music
mhm,
and rock. So it's very much an amalgam of things. And for me, like I had been thinking through, I'm like, I'm Asian American, but I'm also like, I never like to really be defined.
mm,
Like, even my practice, like, um, in terms of like what I do, like I curate many different types of things interdisciplinarily. And like when I teach, I like to not think about like, oh, let's stay in this one department,
mhm,
and I like to collaborate with other departments and other folks. So I think like a lot of what I do is about like kind of crashing through those lines because they're fake anyway.
right,
Yeah.
right.
So that's what I've been thinking about most lately. And so that for more personal composition and work. But then I guess like in terms of what is like driving me forward with the other stuff is, again, providing opportunities to people. I
Mm,
think like being in the capital region, like people don't know what we're doing like elsewhere, and it's amazing. Like, and I tell people, but I'm like, you don't know until you come. So like having the Global Performance and Sound Lab last week was so important. I mean, we had people from all over the world that
mm,
are major performance artists and scholars and curators coming to the capital region and seeing like what we're doing and being like surprised and amazed, collaborating. It was all also about, allowing the capital region folks to meet these other people for potential, collabs in the future, networking. And so everyone kind of gets that. And I think I'd love to bring more of that to folks here because there are people I think also that are working in the field that don't have the language that, academics do, and that there's this weird hierarchy of language
mm.
that is prioritized. And like, I really don't believe in that. I always tell my students, like, I love curatorial practice because it's about difficult issues in language that we actually care about. Because, why do you want to read something when you really don't care about that writing because it's so evolved into a jargon-esque kind
Mm,
of like
mhm, mhm,
language. And so I was hoping like to, bring folks here to really talk with people in the field that aren't part of academia as well.
yeah.
And to like kind of break that barrier of because I think there is very much that barrier that still exists, but in their hearts, like folks really don't care about it. So when they met, they were just like playing together, like everyone's networking and they can't wait to work on potential future stuff. So yeah.
Well, I have to say that everything that you have shared today about what you're doing and how you're sharing it with the community is really profound. And it's so necessary and it's so important. And it says a lot about you as a person and how deeply you care about all that you're doing and all that you're sharing. So it isn't just I do this because it makes me feel good, but that you do it from way I'm hearing you say it is because you really care about connection and people and exploring and undoing all the barriers that keep us from really knowing that we're all, to use a hackneyed phrase, we're all one. We all matter. We all have something important to share. And for that, if I had a hat, I would tip my hat to you. But really, it's so touching, and I wish you so much success because what you're doing is so important.
Oh, thank you so much. I mean, it's like, I guess I'm trying to do some stuff and like, um,
It's such an understatement.
but like everyone else is doing all the stuff, I just bring
Yeah,
them together. But
it's
like,
not a small feat.
yeah, it is logistically quite difficult.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like what makes it amazing is everyone else. And like I think very much of what I try to do is like just like I want people to connect
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
like connect divides that are like
Hmm.
artificial.
Yeah.
Um yeah. So I think that's a lot of it. Yeah, in terms of what I'm doing.
Yeah. It's great. So I know you have a new, do we call it album or CD? What do we call it these days? Something
Yeah,
new coming
so
out.
I'm really excited. I have my first solo album coming up and my first album later on of the trio coming up too. So next this July 17th, which is a Friday, is going to be the launch of my, it's actually a CD and a record. So we're going vinyl as well.
Oh,
I love
yay.
vinyl.
Yeah.
Comes from my dad because he was always like, hi-fi is where it's at. It's like best sound. Um, so yeah, so we're excited about that. And it's called Abandon. So it's kind of about, the it's a love story.
Mhm.
So abandonment of like the abandon of love, like wild abandon, but then also on the other side, the abandonment of love in terms of like the lonely side as well.
Mhm.
So like it shifts and turns throughout the album. It's kind of like a story that you go through those feelings and then what happens at the end. So hopefully you'll listen to the whole album because it was like crafted together to work that way.
Uh,
It also loops back and forth like an improvisation. So I have like some songs that come back but played differently or with like a trio or a duo with Adam Foreman and Jason Hendren, who I work with a lot. So I'm just hoping people might listen to the whole thing together because I know now with streaming and stuff, like people pick and choose, right? But we are having the first single is coming out for the album on Wednesday of
Great.
this week. Yes.
Uh-huh.
So it should already be out. And I'm just really excited because it's the last song on the album. And it's called A Love Is Deep.
Mm.
Yeah, so I hope people will like it.
And
Again,
now
it's
is
kind
that
of
going
a
to be on YouTube? Streaming on YouTube?
yeah, it will. It's streaming on all platforms, I believe.
Okay.
So yeah, it should be pretty easy to find. So A Love Is Deep.
Sounds like your theme song. So before we go, and again, thank you so much for being with me today. Where can people find you? Just to remind us again, and we'll make sure that they know and that it's in the liner notes.
Oh, thank you. So I do have my personal musician website as well. So that's alexchangmusic.com. So it's
Okay.
pretty easy. It's my name, music.com. And
Okay.
then if you want to follow my Instagram, it's at Alexa, there's an A in that one, Chang 2000. So Alexa Chang 2000. It's like the future past.
Again, consistent with who you are and what you do. That's great. So thank you again. And I hope we get to have another conversation like this in the future.
Thank you, Nina. This was so fun.
So glad you enjoyed it. And for those of you who are watching or listening, thank you for joining us. We really appreciate your being here and stay tuned for the next episode. So bye for now.